All right. So, learning outcomes. I'm the first of a series of your colleagues who will be talking about some of our effective teaching strategies and innovations. By the end of this presentation, you should be able to compare successful and innovative pedagogical choices across different disciplines. I am from LATS. I teach English. So, my discussion will be focused on writing one, mostly English 101. And since I teach a gen ed course, and perhaps if you teach a gen ed course, you encounter a question I'm about to share with you. Maybe if you teach programs, you don't hear this one too much, but why do I have to take this class?
Because I said so.
Because you want your parents to be proud of you. Well, actually, I love this question. I mean, the tone when the question was asked makes a big difference, but if it's coming from a place of, please justify why I have to learn this, not aggressively, I like that because that's how I operate as a learner too. I want to understand why I'm being asked to learn something. So that is why I think very carefully about what I do when I put my classes together. And that really is what I'm going to talk about today in different ways when we talk about sort of the overall theme of the course, when we talk about how I make decisions about the presentation of my materials, assignment instructions, for example, what I do day to day with activities in class. I'm going to be concise because that is a lot, but it is all connected. Three keywords for me, and they're not just buzzwords, they really mean something to me: purpose, transparency, and community. And why are those things important to me? Well, let me start with community. According to Columbia University Center for Teaching and Learning, quote, when students feel that they belong to their academic community, that they matter to one another, and that they can find emotional, social, and cognitive support for one another, they are able to engage in dialogue and reflection more actively, and they take ownership and responsibility of their own learning. And I think that is connected to that question that's asked in good faith: why do I have to take this class? It incentivizes that. It makes them engage. And I don't know if you have noticed, in the past couple of years, have you noticed that students seem really sad? Maybe broken? And maybe you feel that way sometimes too. I'll out myself, I'm going through it. So for me, part of my philosophy for what I teach and why this is so important to me is because of that part of them that perhaps is sad. You know, I'm not a clinician. I do not have the credentials to really work through them that way. But if I can create an environment that empowers them through education and makes them feel like, yeah, I do matter and I'm here and I'm part of a community, that's a win, right? So we'll start with my course theme, which is related to all that: building a happy community. I implement this in my English 101 and English 101E. The basic gist of it is, a couple of years ago, I went on vacation with my wife to Chicago, one of America's great cities. Please don't quote Fox News at me. I've been in Chicago. It's not like that. Second of all, I got out of Chicago. It's a little hillbilly like me from Eastern Kentucky. Love cities and cosmopolitan stuff, artsy stuff, all that. I did some research methodically. I Googled, why do city make me happy? And using SEO, spit back out. You probably want to read this book by Charles Montgomery, Happy City, Transforming Our Lives Through Urban Design. I did, and that opened up a whole world to me. I knew very little about urban design. I knew a little bit about utilitarianism, this idea that the pursuit of happiness is the greatest thing to pursue, and one could build a society around that. There are problems there, but I like the idea of deliberately pursuing happiness, and just the different ways of thinking about community activism and things that I took for granted, like walkability in urban design. Well, in any case, that was brought into my English 101 and 101E courses a couple of years ago when I was still at Morehead State University. And so, of course, I'm still teaching the learning outcomes you expect for English 101, right? writing a thesis, conducting research, citing sources, writing polished paragraphs, etc. But it's infused with this theme. So the stuff that we read, the stuff that we talk about, the stuff that we write is related to happiness and urban design. So let me give you some examples of how that works. Students, for their first writing project in my class, write a personal narrative explaining what happiness means to them. Another project, we do a little bit of field research. We actually analyze MCTC's main campus if the student is on campus. We read a couple of things that talk about architecture, which is to say how the spaces that we inhabit actually do affect us psychologically. We look at articles on green spaces, and from there we actually assess the campus and say, okay, based on our reading and our assessment, like, is this space actually good for us psychologically based on what we understand currently? I don't know if students are just blowing smoke. They largely report that, yes, this is a happy place. These students are like, nah, man, nah, that's not good. I don't see any trees. Give me the trees. Whatever. That might be slang. I don't know if I want to quote that. And then our final project, which is what we use for assessment and informative essay in English 101 E, but mine is based on the course theme. The student has to in some way connect their informative essay, that topic, to happiness and or urban design. So let me talk a little bit about the benefits and student feedback I've received from this course theme, and it's from here, MCTC. Of course, like we mentioned, students are still learning that anxiety-inducing English stuff, but they like the course theme a lot. So it helps them come to class and feel engaged and like what they're writing about. They do like getting out of the classroom, surprisingly, to conduct field research, so that's a plus. They report that they like having opportunities to think about where they are and what role they play in shaping the place. And they've reported widely that they loved writing a narrative, focusing on what brings them happiness. So it was an opportunity to kind of define it and reminisce. So intentionally thinking about what makes them happy. Unfortunately, this has also proven to be an opportunity for some students to acknowledge that they are really not doing well. So there are trade-offs, and you have to respond appropriately to that, you know? So moving away from the course theme a little bit to talk about something that I do regardless of what I teach or the course theme, TILT, which stands for Transparency in Learning and Teaching in Higher Education. So let me explain first what TILT is. This is actually from TILT's website. The Transparency in Learning and Teaching in Higher Education project is an award-winning international educational development and research project that helps educators implement a transparent learning and teaching framework to improve college student success. Transparency in learning and teaching involves direct communication among educators and students about the methods of teaching and learning. It has demonstrably increased student success and instructor satisfaction at hundreds of institutions of higher ed in the U.S. and abroad. So if we care about student success, we want to feel satisfied with the work that we're doing. It's an approach that has worked for me. And so in terms of how I tilt, basically everything I do in my classes has a purpose related to our learning outcomes, Bloom's taxonomy, academic and professional skills, and civic engagement. So to return to that question, why do students have to take English 101? With me and for me, it's not only the student's professional success or academic success I'm concerned with, it's holistic. I want the whole person to benefit from having had spent a semester with me. And I'll show you an example of how I tilt, what that actually looks like. Very briefly, let me make sure I'm sharing that. Sorry, y'all. Dizzle. No, I'm from the past.
We know that it's okay. Let's just stop that for a second. Okay, now how did it manage that? So, yeah, we do that instead.
It does not want no.
Okay.
You know what we could do to shorten the day? I can make this available to everyone. We can get sounds to the ballot.
Let's get us there.
Yeah. No worries.
Jesus Christ. Not your fault at all.
It's nobody's fault. It's technology. It happens
You can
sometimes.
see it. I don't even know how to get you back there. There we go. Okay.
It's all good.
Well,
And immediately they're thinking user caused the error.
Is there sharing started again?
There you go.
I've stopped the share several times.
I don't know. I know the wireless.
Damn it. Son of this. Okay, can you at least toggle between your? Nope. All right, well, I'm gonna have to get somebody from IT. Right.
Yes. I'm sorry? Let's hit escape and see what happens. Nothing. Control Alt Delete. Patrick, would you like to take a crack at it?
Sure.
Let's try Alt Tab. Okay. So you're
We're just going back to the presentation now.
oh, you want so you don't.
Yeah, we're bypassing the. I'll just send that to everybody if they want to look at it.
Oh, okay. We'll just you already you're there. So do you see my mouse?
I do know. Oh, it's down here.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, here. Ow. See, oh, that's actually that was there right there. This is you up there technically, and check. Yeah, this is you. So
Excellent.
there you go. Yeah.
Patrick, everybody. But like I said, I'll show you what that actually looks like. The overall idea with an assignment sheet that has been tilted the way I do it in terms of transparency, we not only explain what the assignment is, we explain what the benefits are of doing it in all those dimensions, professional, academic, and so on. Over the years, I've had to refine it because when you have that much information, the document gets pretty lengthy. It turns into a little folio, and we don't want students to look at that and feel overwhelmed immediately. So parts of it get shared incrementally, I guess we could say. Anyway, my apologies. Let me talk a little bit about what we do in the day-to-day. And this probably, if we're sharing possibilities in your class, this may not necessarily work for you. It makes sense in English 101 to have brief in-class writing exercises, which are normally ungraded. Sometimes I do collect them during the semester and grade them. But students really love it. It gives them an opportunity to think creatively and critically, and it becomes part of our course discussion or class discussion. I do it to take attendance, basically. And it also allows us, perhaps in ways that are not immediately obvious, to talk about the content for the day. So I've brought in a couple of examples. These are the ones that the students really responded very well to. Question 1, how do you know that you can trust someone? And this is not just in the context of writing, this is just straight up, how do you know you actually can trust someone? Question 2, I was shocked by how, but the response itself, with what enthusiasm, was the internet a mistake? Overwhelmingly, the students said, yeah, it is. It sucks. Everything sucks. Yeah, anyway, your mileage may vary. And then there's this one. You can be any non-human entity from reality or fiction for 24 hours. What would you be and why? And they get a kick out of that. And that actually leads us into a discussion about expository writing, the what, why, and being descriptive. Great. So sorry about that. In any case, I'm wrapping up. I did want to have a quick word with you about the MCTC Writing Center because I really want to do what I can to support the students and to support you in your efforts to support the students. So if the Writing Center can play a part in that, Please encourage your students to visit us. We open on Monday, January 26th, the second week of classes. We help with all stages of the writing process. We don't do appointments. Students come in when they're open. We work with them there. It's in room 304. We also have email services in case students aren't able to be on campus. So if you'd like for me to stop by and do like a 2 to 5 minute talk with your classes and encourage them to come to the Writing Center, shoot me an email. We'll make it work. All right. Thank you all so much for your time and attention.
Next. We're gonna put some pins on each side. We're gonna do an activity in a minute. So if you don't have something to write with, just pass these around the table. Okay, guys, so if you don't know me yet, my name's Paula and I teach psychology here, and I'm going to talk about student engagement. Okay, so how to get your students engaged in the material, how to get them participating and be excited about it, and keep actively paying attention to the content you're going over. And this is show and tell, so it's different for everybody, but this is just kind of a couple things that work for me. So one, Casey already mentioned, and that's enthusiasm. And I am completely biased. I think psychology is the best. So I don't have to fake my way through enthusiasm at all. Like, it's on every mug that I drink coffee out of, every water cup. I'm very openly excited about the stuff that I teach. So if you can be excited, then your students usually will get excited too, right? If you're up there hating what you're teaching about, why on earth would they want to engage in it with you, right? So that's one thing. Another thing is chunking. So I teach, we're a community college here, so of course the class in psychology that we have the most sections of, that we have the highest enrollment for, is an introductory to psychology, general psych, right? And we have a lot of jump starters in there too. So the textbook, it's pretty daunting. It's 16 chapters. It can feel overwhelming and like a lot for them. That is not going to get them engaged. They're going to be scared. They're not even going to want to pick it up and touch it. So I chunk it, right? So I break these 16 chapters down into 4 units. So 4 chapters per unit. Much more manageable. 4 chapters, not scary at all, right? So that's another thing I do to help keep them focused and with me during it. But the big thing, and what I'm going to focus on today, is that during each of these units, I make sure that I do discussions, activities, demonstrations. So they know for each unit, this is coming, right? And it keeps them excited and it gets them engaged with me. So if you'll entertain me, we're going to do one of the activities that I actually do in my classroom, okay? So during chapter 11, which is personality, I do a lecture. And included in it is looking at personality assessments. And we have to lecture on the difference between projective and objective tests, right? And I'm not going to 60-minute lecture you right now, but one of the things that they kind of struggle understanding is that when you're doing an objective test, there's a standard set of options. So the test administrator, they don't have to do any interpretations at all right? It's cut and dry, black and white. With projective tests, however, the sky's the limit. There's no standard set of answers they have to give you. And therefore, there is a lot of room for interpretation. It's confusing. So I make it less confusing with one of these activities. So here's what I'm going to have you do. Okay? This is actually an activity I use in the classroom. Here you go. Just take a piece of paper and pass it around, please. And what I'm going to ask you to do is have your writing utensil and your paper is, I'm going to ask you to draw a pig. Draw a pig. Pig. P-I-G.
Should we leave space on this paper for other things?
Up to you how you space it, how you do it. So I'm gonna come around and peek at your kids, and I'm doing in my classroom too. Whoa, okay, God. I'm learning, you don't have to. You bear. Like a bear. You're a bear. I'm pretty sure those are okay. Like your little.
Your skills and data.
Oh, yes. Hey, nice, he's happy, babe. Oh, wow. Every time they come around now. And not to get out on the guys, I mean, even though. I do this for a reason, I promise. The hands is really good.
Does that mean like I'm a psychopath?
Do you know?
Mentally.
Interpretation of that. Your pig is very evil if you're taking that.
Right.
Okay, that's what. Okay. Okay, so yeah, I might have it too. Something I'm gonna use probably. So what if I told you that we could look at this pig you made and figure out certain aspects of your personality traits, like a personality assessment? Would you be interested in doing that?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. So the next thing I'm gonna hand you is the pig analysis sheet, okay? Now, here you go. So now, take this sheet and utilize it to figure out the traits of your pig and see how closely it represents your personality.
Should I schedule a separate appointment with you?
Okay, yeah.
You're very hostage. I'm off. What's Oh, yours isn't it? You're not. Everyone have one now. That's not. Thanks, I'm glad. Facing front. Yeah, I'm in. See, what is this? Say something about here. Number, big friend. You're definitely the one about the big. This week.
Yeah.
I'm for take father health and instead of.
I get a lot of.
Goodness, and you're like, whoa, this is like oddly on point. Anybody? Yeah? Okay. You're like, yeah, couldn't be more wrong. Yeah? Maybe like half and half? Maybe it all?
I wanted to be there.
Well, it's good. We're all right. How's it louder?
Are we the pig facing right away, or are we looking at the pig facing right away?
What do you think? Should be the answer. Naturally? If I were a test administrator scoring this, Who would be making that decision? Me, right?
Oh.
Man,
I put that mine was looking left, because I use the pig's perspective.
is it looking left?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, no?
There it is. It's like-
Is that your interpretation?
Yeah.
Hold on. Or not?
Yeah. It's-
There's mine. And I'm a test administrator, and I had done 5,000 pig analyses. And maybe I had seen some where I could see every hair on the pig's body. I could see, I don't know, wetness on its snout, okay? Maybe it's wearing a tutu and pearls and ballet slippers and performing on the grandest stage. Does this still register as detail to me?
Probably not.
It's open for interpretation, right? Let me do one more. Oh, that's a good one. Top or middle? Top.
Better.
How about that? Is this tail long? This is a fabulous way to get your students to engage with you and to understand the material. Now, because I demonstrated that, when I talk about, hey, when we do projected tests, there's no standard set of answers. Therefore, the test administrator, they have to use interpretation when they score it. Now it makes sense to them. Is that a real test? Of course it's not. It's totally made up for the purposes of this. But now when I show them something like this, what do you see? Rorschach, right? What do you see?
Bacon.
The Grateful Dead.
You guys want to know common things in it?
Yes.
Yeah, butterfly. Probably. Seahorses is pretty common. Actually, woman's pelvic from like an exam or like an x-ray, pretty common.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
So about this.
how many answers can I give?
Infinite.
Infinite, okay? Maybe I see nothing. Maybe I see one thing. Maybe I see everything, right? Okay? I have to make interpretations. There's no standard set of options. Thematic apperception test. Tell me a story about what you see in this picture. We still use this today with children pretty often. Not to diagnose them, no. But to help us kind of get an idea of where they are in their life and what's going on. I actually do another activity with this one in the classroom where I pass it around and I say, anybody who wants to participate and tell a brief little story from this gets extra credit. And then we'll vote on it. And the winning story gets 5 extra credit points, right? So everybody has a chance to get some, but then the winner, because that makes them want to tell a little better story. And there's no hurt feelings. Put your heads down when we vote, right? Nobody sees who's voting for who, and you get a tally. But it keeps them engaged, and it's a projective test. My story could be 1 sentence long. My story could be 5 pages long, right? There's no standard set of answers. Now, by engaging in these demonstrations, these activities, or discussions, they understand the content better, and they're engaging in the material with me, right? Okay, any questions? All right, I used my time. Thank you guys for listening to me. I know you know what you're doing, so.
Thank you, Paula.
No problem.
Thanks, we're fabulous. All right, and then last but not least, we have Zan.
Whoa. I'm just gonna see me.
Own stuff.
I'll just do it on the flash.
Just
Yeah, you can do that too.
see if we can get out of here. Perfect.
I don't know if you guys can see. That's the same phone.
All right, if you want to go ahead and plug your, let's see. Uh-huh. All right, does it have a funky name or is it just your name?
No, just me. Yeah, like the
USB drive?
I didn't change anything yet.
Perfect.
Yeah, there we go.
All right. And I just need to make sure that make sure it works.
Good. Sweet. All right. So last of all, I'm not going to start this stuff ever. Like even in class, I'm just like, guys, I don't know what we're doing, but we're and figure something out. So hands on. So basically, with IT, everything seems to be you have to be able to see it, you have to touch it, you have to do something with it, or we can virtualize it. If you virtualize it, you still have to be able to see it. So it comes down to the only way you can get better at doing something is muscle memory, repetitive, hands-on work, and then to do that, you have to find accessibility ways, like accessible ways for people to get through this stuff. So basically, the idea of what I want to do with my classroom is get away from any kind of, hey, we've got 3 hours, we're going to be here. I see you once a week and we'll spend 2.5 hours watching a video that you could do at your house. That's pointless to me because why am I here? You could do that. I did that with self-study, but they're paying to be here. So I have to give them a product, right? So when they show up, I think somebody applied down here, but I was like, man, that thing, I don't really want to drag it down here. So pure laziness, I didn't bring anything down. But there's usually, if you walk by 250, you see the beautiful rack of lights and boxes and switches and stuff. But also there's little plastic sound box pods that we roll out in the room. And I'm like, all right, guys, we got this thing. We did a packet tracer, which I'll talk about that in just a minute. But now here's the real deal. Here's what you can actually do with it. You know, get that really nice, satisfying click when you plug in the Ethernet for it. You can do this stuff. You can break it and figure out how we broke it, how we can fix it, that kind of stuff. So that's where we get to hands-on learning and physical with the virtual labs. So it seems counterintuitive when I say we do hands-on learning with virtualization, but this is something I could show a video on all day long. I don't have a clue about it. When we virtualize it, and then you can bring it up, and I'll have a picture of what I'm talking about when we're talking about the virtual labs for packet tracer later on. But the idea is you can at least see something. You can see how it connects, and when you see it, their students are like, "Oh, okay, now I get it," because I can read this, but I don't know what you're talking about it until we actually get there. So once you get to that, now you say, well, okay, so what if there's a student that has, some kind of a deficiency in his ability to understand based off of like seeing the video and seeing the actual virtualization, and they're like, okay, now we move on to physically doing this thing. And what's really neat about the packet tracer is what they did virtually in that lab, you can take and just put it right on the machine. So depending on what you did right or wrong, and then we can go from there. And then troubleshooting happens because, as we saw today, you need to know what you're going to do about your PowerPoint or your slide, and something will still go wrong no matter what, because that's IT for you. Just over Christmas break, everything was fine. I was doing all kinds of remote work, and then I come back in, and Tuesday suddenly the server's down, and no clue what happened to it. And that's the thing I built from the ground up, so I have no idea. That's just what happens. Well, once you get past all this with the hands-on learning, virtual labs I'm talking about, now you have to say, well, I don't want just certain people to be able to do this. I want anybody to get a hold of this, and I want somebody to find their passion. So if you are, I don't know, let's just out of nowhere, blind or vision impaired in any way, it makes it very difficult to be able to see the packet tracers or the virtual labs or even the hardware. But that's where we'll talk about that a little bit today. Cisco's been working on creating a completely keyboard, mouse, and audio for their packet tracer, and it's wild because the first thing you think of in IT is you have to go look at the blinking lights to know what the blinking lights are. Not always the case. So then at the end of it, now you can say, well, how can we take this hands-on learning I have and make it worthwhile? Like I can teach you all this stuff all day long. We can work on this stuff in person, we can do hands-on all day long. But at the end of the day, you still have to be able to say what you did. That's where I like to bring in the writing aspect of things because they are not getting away from writing. You can go through school, you write all the papers you want on the road, get tired of it, and think, oh, I'm going to work with computers all day. I don't have to write anymore. Well, that joke's on you. Now you start working a different type of writing. So, getting into this, first of all, we're going with the hands-on approach. Like I was saying, we physical machine setup, we build a computer, actual hardware network. We don't just sit and watch the video. Sometimes we might do that if we have a low day where things aren't clicking and I'm stretching and trying to find something that's going to connect with that one group of students that are just not quite understanding it. Maybe there's a video that just hits them the right way. Maybe there's somebody else that can come in and talk and say, hey, I've got a speaker coming in, and they say the same thing I've been saying 35 times a day, every day for the last so many classes, and they're all like, oh my gosh, why didn't you just say that? And, suddenly they get it. So I don't care if they get it from somebody else or they get it from me, as long as it clicks with them and then we can move on, they're learning something. So that's best scenarios. So that's our physical machine where we actually use the pods. Imagine there's the sound box here. We have things we can click in. And actually, Gary's been borrowing it for a couple of his classes too for the networking class because, as we all know, nobody here lives in a vacuum. We're all together. Nobody's an island. Man is not an island. So we create this network, puns, that help each other out. Because if I learn something about taking a new certification, I can go to Gary and say, hey, Gary, I just took the Network Plus. And guess what they have on there? Yada, yada, yada. And he can say, oh my gosh, I need to update my curriculum. So we talk and work things out. And then he starts using that physical switch in the hardware it's significantly older than anything else that should be on the market, but it's still using, and people are finding that out there. So when the kids come in, I love to call them kids because it makes me feel a lot younger. But they come in, they start clicking stuff in, they start getting the stuff worked, and then they say, hey, you know what? I actually went to my internship and I thought these were old machines, but the ones we were using, that was the same ones as these. And so I knew what I was doing. And I helped out one of the full employee because he didn't know anything about using this older, syntax. So it was a great experience for a lot of them to say, I loved being able to physically touch this stuff and do the actual work, making cables rather than just looking at these orange and white, blue, green lines and say, this is how it lines up for A, this is how it lines up for B. And then when they make them, they're like, so you did a great crossover cable. And they said, well, I was making a straight through. And you're like, well, let's try again then. You got pretty close. But yeah, you can look at a picture all day long until you do it. You can ask anybody that's ever made a network cable. It's not... You can make them for every day for 20 years and then come in one day and just start making one and then find out, well, you twisted a pair or this broke or that broke. There's always going to be something. So the more practice, it's never going to hurt. Well, then what brings on to, I'll keep on using the mouse to pull stuff out. We're down to our packet tracer simulations. A lot of times they'll get into it and they see the machine and you say, I don't want to break that thing because I don't know how expensive it is. And I'm like, I don't care. Fix it. That's what it is. But then they still get scared of it. So that's what the packet tracer simulations come into. They can actually simulate the network that they were going to do with this physical lab. And they run all the code and create an area just what they would use on the machine. So they can, do whatever they think is going to be breaking the machine and then find out it's not. And then it kind of eases it into now I can do stuff. So pulling it all together, we bridge our theory to practice, gives them a safe environment where they feel like, oh, I don't have to lose money by breaking something here. And then they can get that, oh, I don't know if it'll work, but let's find out. Instead of saying, oh, I'm scared. Ask ChatGPT if this is going to work or not. And say, I've had many students come by in the room and say, do you have this switch or this router in your office that we can practice on? I want to try something. Yeah, right here in the corner. Let's go grab it and we'll do this. So break stuff, fix it, and I have to do it again. So what the hands-on approach is for me. I'm terrible at PowerPoints. I will let you guys look at this stuff later on. But this is exactly what I was kind of going through. They can learn from their mistakes in a safe environment. They don't have to worry about breaking stuff and doing the wrong things because nothing's wrong until you just keep doing it and you don't learn from your mistakes. So accessibility comes into play because if you're really hands-on, you have to be able to do you have to be able to see what you're doing or at least have some way of describing the thing to you. So I actually been working with Aaron Priest, talking to him about accessibility things, especially for stuff he's used, applications, or, what do I do if I have a student that really doesn't see very well, or has a low light vision issue, or have these problems that I don't want to walk up and just, hey, come see me after class. I'll make sure that you're isolated. No, we want to add this into the classroom. So so far, I've not had someone that is in the classroom, but my idea for that would be when there's a situation where there's a student that needs some kind of accessibility for the vision. I want to be able to bring it into the class and tell everybody if they're okay with it, obviously, but make it a situation where it's like, this is something you're going to run into in the real world too. If you can look on someone's computer and then you have different programs, here's the app that he was talking about actually. So if they're using these programs, they need to fix their computer, but they have it set up for their specific vision issue. How are you going to be able to fix it without knowing the apps themselves? How they use their screen readers or specific things. These are all different apps and things that specifically Aaron has given me for Windows, Mac, Linux. Surprisingly, Linux, there's a lot of them, but Orca seems to be like the one to go with. Linux being free and open source, it's really interesting to see, the community comes together and says, I don't like the way it works, so we build a new one. But apparently he told some interesting information, like the narrator, magnifier, and zoom text that comes with Windows and Zoom in specific just seems to be the best. Like, who knew that, companies with lots of money would make something that worked out really well? But I don't trust them. I don't know. But anyways, the idea is they have all kinds of access. There's no reason why should everybody show up to my class or Gary's class or Patrick's class or anybody's class where you're hands-on work with a computer and not be able to do the things that we do. We just have to change a little bit. We have to make it accessible for that person to do the same level of work in detail. I'm getting very close to the 12 minutes. I realize that, but here's a packet tracer picture. I just put it down literally from the internet. Have no idea where this is from. Just did it like 5 minutes ago. Added to it. But this is what I'm talking about. A way to visually see the network. All these are different devices that we can actually use or have in a building, but you have to be able to see this and understand it. So Cisco has added in 0.9 the accessibility features for screen readers, full keyboard navigation, high contrast, high DPI. I have the tutorial and resources based off of what Cisco's directly from their page. Currently working with Aaron to see if he wants to look over that so maybe he can explain how it works, how it functions. So in case I need to utilize that accessibility feature later on, I'll have full knowledge of it. Okay, we'll make this last bit really quick. But basically, challenge for the professional writing situation, you need to be able to work on telling people what you did. You have to write down and document what you did for something. So if you fix a computer for later on, somebody else has to come back and do the same fix that you had. They can have an idea of what you did and how you did to fix it. So again, trying to use the mouse. The documentation is critical, but usually like I said earlier, they often overlook all this kind of stuff. They don't think about what they need to write up. So usually we'll do something like doing your hands-on work, and then after we do everything, about what you did. So what was the purpose? What were we going to do? What kind of network were we going to build? After that, how did you acquire not require the but how did you get the network set up? What did you do to set the network up? After you set the network up, what did you do to show that it worked? And hands-on for things like CTFs, which are capture the flags. They're very fun. It's stuff that's, okay, fun is obviously a relative term in the IT field. Fun for the board, but unfortunately, I don't know how you want to look through thousands and thousands of lines of log files, but I will do it all day long because eventually you find that one little curl that breaks everything open, and it's amazing. But anyways, we're done with those different fun games. Try Hack Me and Hack the Box are both websites that gamify this kind of thing. And at the very end, you need to be able to understand what you did to answer their questions. And then sometimes they'll say you need to make a write-up for this. Write-up being, how did you find the problem? How did you fix the problem? How did you go about doing this? And why did it work? So I'm working on this, really nice Star Wars droid naming convention, 5W1H. So we have the 5Ws and an H that just says like what happened, what was done, when did it occur, when did it happen, why did it happen, and why this approach, and how was it done. So your step-by-step method. And the how was it done is like documentation for future references of people doing the same thing. How can I reproduce this? How can I get someone else to do the same thing without having to do certain niche things that I did? If I write it up so they can reproduce it, then they can fix the problem and eliminate it from being a problem later on more and more. Of course, I should put this little thing in here just for the general writing and IT specific documentation stuff. So I can take, do you know how to write legibly? Do you know, not legibly emotional typing, I guess, but do you know how to write so people understand what you're saying? And then also cover all of the small nuances without dragging things on. And yes, the irony of not dragging things on, teaching them not to drag things on, it's not lost on me. Key takeaways, hands-on, much better than gesture theory on that you get over that fear of things and just go get hands dirty and do stuff. Accessibility is inclusion. So if we can make things accessible, it's included in everything, and that's a lot more fun when you have more people doing the thing you like. If you don't have friends to play with, kind of makes you sad. If we get to do stuff, we have more fun with it. Writing is equivalent to understanding. If you can write everything out and document exactly what you did, it tells me, you actually did what you were talking about. Yes, it's very easy to tell which AI generated answers you gave me. I like to start feel like this being my second semester teaching, maybe during the syllabus or like first couple of days and say, guys, I know how ChatGPT versus Claude and Gemini and Grok and everybody else writes your words out. So if you want to do that, maybe, surprise me, see if I can trick me on one this time. Also, you don't type with emojis. I know that. This doesn't happen. People do that.
I actually don't smell it.
Yeah, I'm going to start with a star and explosion says, I'm starting. But basically, the big thing I want to tell everyone in my class is never stop asking questions, because if there's a problem, we can find a way to fix it. And, no one knows everything, but everyone knows something. IT cybersecurity, so it's definitely a QR code and not malicious, I promise. So,
Long ransomware.
yeah.
Thank you, guys. This was fantastic.
The mouse is completely gone now, too.